What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Drive for Show, DFS for Dough here on RotoGrinders. Thought we might have a week off from the golf DFS front this week, but we have been treated to some nice contests on DraftKings and FanDuel. Obviously, a pretty big event coming up this week. We've got 60 golfers gathered in Paris for the International Golf Tournament of this 4-year stretch. We'll say that. So should be a fun one this week. Lots of interesting narratives if you want to take that path. But a smaller field, no-cut event. Probably won't be a super long breakdown here this week, but wanted to make sure we got our usual content out to you guys since there is some pretty big money to be won out there. DraftKings does have a $25 buy-in with $200K to first. So that prize pool certainly doesn't stink on a week where the PGA Tour does not have an event. So we'll bring you the show here tonight. We'll see where it takes us. I am Justin Van Zuiden, STL Cardinals 84. Have Derek Farnsworth, a.k.a. Notorious, alongside as well. Noto, how you been?
Been good, and you've been around long enough to know there's no breaks in PGA DFS.
About 3 weeks around Christmas is all you're going to get.
I mean, they even got the Hero World Challenge mixed in. I mean, it's always something, but yeah, better to have something than nothing to talk about. That's for sure. Already got a question in the chat. Love to see that. We'll cover that here in a bit. But yeah, I'm excited for the Olympics. Have you been watching any of the other stuff, the events?
I have been watching a decent bit. We'll see how the USA basketball team does. They get kick-started tomorrow, so or I guess their second game tomorrow, but we'll see if they can avoid the upset against South Sudan that they almost had in the preliminary exhibition match.
What's the spread this time around? Did it move much? It
was like 45 the first time. It's like 29.5 this time.
Okay.
So the odds makers are scared.
They overcorrected. They're going to win by 50 now.
We'll see. That'll be coming up on Wednesday, I believe. But yeah, it's last week's golf tournament, the 3M Open. I'm not sure what that leaderboard was. I had one lineup that had a shot going into the weekend, but needed kind of Pendrith to pull it out. Had Finau on that team, but I had McNeely as well. So, you know, it ended up reasonably good, but not see Johnny Vegas and Matt Kuchar getting up there last week.
Yeah, crazy week. I ended up going on a trip with my new girlfriend, first trip together. So I only put together one lineup. It was looking like I was going to get 6 of 6 after Thursday. Ended up with 3 of 6. So didn't even have to sweat over the weekend. Got some extra quality time in thanks to my terrible golf team. But thought we had some good takes. You know, we talked about McNeely. We talked about Vegas's ball striking numbers. I didn't think he'd be able to putt well enough to win, but yeah, he had a great week, and then Pendrith, we were both pretty high on Pendrith as well. I wasn't on Kuchar, that's for sure, but yeah, sorry your one lineup didn't come through.
It was all right. It you had 6 of 6 and had Pendrith and Finau and McNeely on it, so I was getting a little sweat going into the weekend, but guys didn't play well enough on Saturday to give it any kind of at least like top 5 GPP ability heading into the weekend. But it's nice to have a little bit of a sweat anyway. Ended up with a positive week. We'll take that on a week where the leaderboard ended up being a little bit wonky. So turn our attention to this week. 60 golfers in the field. Of course, they'll be golfing in France, and it's not a new venue. Le Golf National, I think. I don't know. I took Spanish, so Le Golf I can probably get, but in any case, it's a course that has been used for the Ryder Cup in the past and has also been used annually, I believe, on the DP World Tour for the most part. So it's not like we have no history with this venue. If you want to dig into the European stuff, you can find more data on it. But what do you know about the course challenge that we have in front of us this week?
Yeah, it's kind of nice because the first 2 times we had golf in the Olympics, they were new courses to us, so we didn't have a lot to work with. But yeah, Le Golf National, I believe you were correct. It's been on the DP World Tour for like 22 straight years, something like that. I don't think there was a tournament here in 2021 or 2020. But yeah, Ryder Cup 2018. So we got a lot of data to work with. One of those courses that's similar to Harbour Town, TPC Sawgrass, where, you know, bombers don't really have a big advantage here. The fairways are 28 yards wide on average. A lot of water hazards in play. I think water's in play on 10 of the holes. The rough should be pretty thick. I don't know if it'll be as thick as it was at the Ryder Cup when we saw the Americans just absolutely collapse. I think Rory McIlroy made a joke about that in his presser today. I don't know if you saw that, but they asked him if the rough was as thick as it was back then in 2018, and he said, "You'd have to ask the Americans. I wasn't in there very much." So,
he's on it. He's got the jabs ready to roll.
So yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those positional courses. You want to be accurate off the tee. Gonna see a lot of guys pubbing down, so not looking at too many off the tee metrics, but greens are pretty big, so you want to be accurate with your irons as well. Get your ball close to the hole, and it's been the fourth toughest course on the DP World Tour, so gonna play pretty difficult. You got the grinder types, the solid all around guys, the good ball strikers, kind of what I'm looking at this week.
So again, we only have 60 golfers in the field, and it's not prize money that they're playing for this week. So only 3 relevant finishers at the end of the week. So I mean, are we concerned? Like, are guys going to mail it in if they don't get off to a good enough start? Any credence to that? I mean, obviously, the easy answer to that is just play the guys who are near the top, but that's a little easier said than done. So, any motivational or other weird angles you're playing this week?
Yeah, I mean, guys mailing it in could certainly happen. But motivation-wise, it's hard to know the top guys because they're going to be gearing up for the FedEx Cup here in the next few weeks. But, I mean, everyone else, they're playing for their countries, and there's more on the line than you might think. If the winner gets into all 4 majors, the winner gets into the Players, the winner gets into the Century. So even somebody like Jon Rahm, who's missed playing in all the big PGA Tour events. He's talked about that a little bit. I mean, if he wins, he could get into the Players, and I think it means probably more to some of these guys than others, but it's hard to know. So I'm not really factoring that in much. But yeah, if we did know, I do think there's going to be some guys coming in less motivated than others.
Or I mean, if you go out and shoot 9 over the first round, right? You just pack it in and enjoy the food for the next few days or something. But again, hard to quantify who's going to be, more motivated than others, or who's going to be at the top of the leaderboard after the first couple of rounds. So easy to get a little too analytical with that, but that's what we've got this week. So let's go ahead and dig in. We've got surprising for the small field, 6 golfers in the 5-digit price range on DraftKings, and the salaries only go down to $6K. So it does make it a little bit tough, particularly if you're trying to get Scheffler in there. Scheffler's at 12.5, Schauffele and McIlroy both over 11, and then Rahm, Oberg, and Morikawa in the 10s. How are you, at least off the bat here, planning to attack this top range?
Definitely feels like you should be prioritizing these guys up here, but man, the 7s and 6s are pretty thin. Like typically when you sort by point per dollar rating or of mine or point per dollar in the RG stuff, you'll get a lot of those value guys popping up, but I mean, that's not the case this week. It's like all the best guys are 8,000 and up. So I think the balance build might be a little more in play than usual, but at the same time, if I am picking somebody above 10K to start with, I think I like Rahm and I like Morikawa. Certainly no case against Scheffler. He's great everywhere. Certainly no case against Xander. Who knows what his motivation is after winning, a second major. And, he talked today that he doesn't want to see a team event in the Olympics because it would be too much golf. Man, him and Cantlay, just so many complaints. It's not like they play that much, but I mean, they're both solid all around.
They're hanging out with each other too much.
I know.
Cantlay's rubbing off on him.
Their wives are wanting to do too many vacations together. Not enough golf or too much golf. But I mean, Rahm finally T7 at the Open Championship, his best finish at the majors. We know he's had a down year. And then he went back and won last week on Live. So I think his game's trending in the right direction. He's the only guy basically above – him and Lowry are the only guys above 9K that have played this course before. He finished T5 here in 2018, other than the Ryder Cup, of course. And then Morikawa just seems like the perfect guy for this course. But one of the most accurate drivers of the ball, one of the best iron players. He's gained on and around the greens in 6 straight events. So give me those two. But yeah, it's hard to make a strong case against anyone. But who are you liking up there?
Yeah, if everyone, kind of wants to shy away from Rory after one bad tournament, he's probably the guy that I like the most in GPPs. I mean, after all, he said he wasn't in the fescue all that much last time. So, he's and he had the runner up at the US Open and fourth or fifth or something at the Scottish before that obvious disaster at the Open Championship. Um, it's Rory McIlroy. It's not like he's going to turn into a below average player overnight. So I certainly think that Schauffele is the safe play at this point. But McIlroy, you made a case for kind of the motivation angle for Rahm earlier. I think that's interesting, particularly if he's the lowest owned of the bunch. I don't particularly like his game right now as much as those other guys, but
you're not swayed by his win last week.
He's still angry though. He's like he's been mad. It seems like for
he'd be like 18 guys last week.
Yeah, no, I'm not putting much stock into one win on the Live Tour, but in any case, it's if it gets him into the majors, I mean, surely he wants to have that motivation, but I think he's okay if he stays sub 10% owned. Schauffele and Morikawa are probably the safe guys for sure. I don't really have a strong take on the others. Probably end up underweight on Scheffler, but I just don't. I mean, at 12.5 and the pricing isn't quite that loose this week, and you can't go down into the fives. Don't really like anything in the sixes. Like to me, I think Scheffler like hamstrings your lineup a little bit more this week. It seems like when I've done some initial builds here.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of why I like Rahm and Kawa.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the next range. Shane Lowry at 9,800. A healthy price tag for him coming off a week where he contended at the Open Championship, faded a bit there at the end, but played another solid week of golf. Certainly knows how to play golf on these European courses. Hovland, Fleetwood, Neiman, Tom Kim, Alex Noren in the 9Ks. I've always kind of got a soft spot for Neiman, so I don't hate him, but Noren is the guy I really like in here. You look at his results, steady results here over the summer, tends to get around on these types of courses, even though his game isn't necessarily elite. I'm putting some stock in around the green game this week. I think everybody's going to have to scramble. His scrambling numbers have been really good of late. And he's got probably, if you're putting stock into course history this week, he's got probably the best course history you'll find. 4 trips here, though it's been a while. It's been, 6 or 7 years. But 4 trips here, he has a win, and all 4 in the top 20. So I like Noren at 9K. I think this is the perfect kind of course for him. What do you think about these 9Ks?
Yeah, I like the Noren call. No issue there. This is where Mollywood, the nickname, happened in the 2018 Ryder Cup, where they went undefeated, Fleetwood and Molinari. So I don't mind him. He's coming off of a miscut. I think that'll help lower his ownership a bit. Nobody else in the nines really piques my interest. Tom Kim coming off the miscut. He did finish 6th here last year. So he's one of the only guys, priced up here that's actually played this event recently or this course recently. But I like Fleetwood. I like Noren. Maybe Neiman. I mean, he hasn't played well in the events where, he's played with the PGA Tour regulars, but I think this could be a good spot for him, kind of flying under the radar, coming off of a 2nd place finish last week. He's been great pretty much all year on Live. So he could be interesting too at 93.
Yeah, I'm going to play some of him this week. But again, I got a little soft spot for him. So we'll see where my player exposure takes me. But I don't love a whole lot else in this range. So Noren, Neiman, maybe a little Lowry, but Noren and Neiman definitely the ones that I like the most in that range. All right, let's go ahead and move down into the 8K range. Again, only 60 golfers this week, so it's not going to take us a lot of time to get through this. We'll still try to do a snake draft here at the end, but 8K mid-range this week. We've got right now a whole lot of spread out ownership in here. Basically, everybody between like 10 and 20%. Connors, Matsuyama, Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick's probably the one guy I'm kind of off of right now. Day as well. But then you've got Straka, who's been playing well at various points over the summer. Minwoo Lee, Benny On, Wyndham Clark, and Pavone rounding out the 8K range. Anybody standing out to you in here?
Outside of Connors, I don't love much. Connors is just similar to Morikawa in that he's a good total driver, great iron player. the short game's been coming around, and he's been, 6 straight top 30 finishes, 3 top 10s during that stretch. This is a course that's going to reward good ball striking, just staying out of the trouble. So I think he makes a lot of sense. At 8,900 is probably your second guy in. If you do start in the 10s, I kind of like dipping down into the 8s for your second guy. Don't have a ton of interest in fits like you. Dave feels overpriced. Straka, you just never know. It feels like he could easily win a medal. He's just one of those, kind of like the Rory Sabatini from last time, or CT Pan, I think, won the bronze. That was a pretty cool playoff. I remember wanting to go to sleep, and it just kept going and going. There were like 6 guys.
And that was, where was that?
Japan.
Tokyo, yeah. So yeah, that would have been at odd hours of the day for sure when that was going on. Anyway.
Yeah, and then in the lower 8s, I like Thomas Dietrich a little bit, 8,300. He's been pretty solid, making cuts this season, 13-17. He's played this course 3 times in the last 4 or 5 years, 8th, 16th, 35th. So some good results at LA Golf National. Then if you want to play the home guy, isn't Pavon, is he from France?
Yeah.
Yeah, so his form has been all over the place, but, he'll have the home crowd backing him up.
Yeah, I'm trying to Victor Perez is the other Frenchman in the field. So each country has 2 guys. So that is how it works here. So Pavon and Victor Perez are the Frenchmen, and Perez is, where's he? He's down at 7,100. So don't mind that angle for those 2 guys. Parlay the stack the French guys together if you think the crowd will boost them on this week. I kind of like Wyndham Clark. It'd be interesting to see where his ownership comes in. Like, he's always a super boomer bust guy. Like McIlroy, he kind of imploded at the Open Championship. He shot 78, 80. I was kind of thinking that might end up dropping his ownership this week. But before that, it was a 9th and a 10th. Before that, a 56. So that's Wyndham Clark. He's just all over the place. But now you're finally getting him at a bit of a discount. If people are kind of end up shying away, I don't mind him at 8,100. I don't play him a whole lot, but I think he's fine there. Benyon, I think, is fine as well. I think you can take some shots in this range. Straka, even Hideki, Connors, I think all those guys are fine. Maybe like that range in general, a little bit more than even the 9Ks. So any other thoughts on the 8s for you?
Just pulled up a random wind finder in Paris. I'm not sure if it's the right one yet, but it doesn't look like there's going to be a ton of wind. Less than 10 mile per hour gusts all 4 days at the moment. So that could help some of the Americans like Wyndham Clark. I think that could be an interesting call for sure.
All right, let's go ahead and go into the 7Ks. Now, as we get down here, you're going to see a whole lot more guys that are maybe playing on the DP World Tour regularly because, again, only 2 guys from each country. So there's only 2 Americans in the field. So you're going to see a whole lot of names that maybe if you're not plugged into all the golf tours, you don't recognize quite as much. There are a few. I mean, Seabez is in here. Ryan Fox is in here. We've seen, those guys. But otherwise, you got a mix of guys that have played more on the DP World Tour or have gone to live. You've got Answer, Carlos Ortiz, Guido Migliozzi, I think another name that if you go back a few years was he was going to be the next big thing, but before he stopped playing on the PGA Tour. So I think the 7Ks are interesting. Seabez is probably going to be the chalk. I like Guido a good bit, and he has a good finish, I believe, on this course as well in the past. The DP World Tour recent form has been pretty good for him. So otherwise, I don't mind going a little off the board here. It's a no-cut event. I don't hate Seabez, but if he's going to be the chalk, I'll probably look elsewhere in GPPs. What are your thoughts on the 7Ks here?
Yeah, Guido has kind of a cult following in our circles. A lot of guys that bet regularly on the DP World Tour love this dude. He won 6 weeks ago. He also won here in 2022 at this course, so he's got that going for him. I like that call quite a bit. I do like Seabez. I really hope the ownership comes down. I mean, he's coming off of 2 missed cuts in a row. He does pop in any model that I've looked at already, so I'm probably not going to get my wish on the ownership front, but I do think he makes a lot of sense at 7,300. It feels like an Abraham Answer course, one that just demands accuracy off the tee and with irons. That was kind of his strength when he was on the PGA Tour. It's hard to look at stats from Live and really know what's happening. But I pulled up a little bit. He's still pretty accurate off the tee, decent when it comes to greens and regulation. And he's like in the top 15 in birdie better rate on Live. So I'll play a little bit of Answer and probably nobody else until we get to the bottom of the 7K range. I do like the Victor Perez call. I forgot he was from France. I was already looking to play him. So the home game angle certainly makes sense. He's got a couple top 30 finishes here. Torbjorn Olsen's got back-to-back top 20 finishes at this course of the DP World Tour event. So I'll play some of him at 7,200. And the model loves EVR, just like it did last week. And he once again imploded.
He's been bad, man. I can't do that right now.
His Minnesota home game narrative. We need to get rid of that forever.
I guess he was 6th at the Rocket Mortgage. I forgot about that one. But otherwise, form relatively underwhelming for EVR. I think I'll pass there. Speaking of form that's dipped, what's happened to our man Jaeger? He was like the ultimate play forever, and now he's 6,900 again.
Yeah, back-to-back missed cuts. I mean, prior to that, T33, T21, T58. So hasn't been terrible. I think he's fine. Yeah, I think he's fine.
All right, well, he's fine, and we can go into the 6Ks. He would certainly be there. He's at 6.9K. Again, we've got a 6K floor this week. CT Pan is a guy I didn't hate on his own before you even mentioned the last time. He's grading out pretty well in our projections. Sharma is a guy I like a good bit. I think that at 6,500, relatively modest ownership. He's got some history here as well. And, at that price helps you maybe get an extra high-end guy into your lineup. I had written up Valimaki at first because he played well at the John Deere, and I remembered that, but the other results have been a little underwhelming for him. So pivoted to Sharma instead. CT Pan is probably your quote-unquote cash game choice, I guess, if you want somebody down here. And another guy that is interesting that used to have sort of a cult following would be Mito Pereira. I don't know if it's just if it's an Italian thing or what, but we got Guido and Mito in here this week that people are going to have coming back into their memories. So it's not the greatest range, but there's at least some guys we can talk about in the 6Ks. Any hot takes here?
Okay, so Mito Pereira, one top 30 finish this year. There's 54 golfers a week on Live, one top 30 finish. I think he's played 10 or 11 events. Not great. He's almost dead last in putting, scrambling. He's like bottom 10 in distance and accuracy. So
he's just giving up the ghost.
It's been bad. It's been ever since he got electrocuted at the PGA Championship on that last hole. It's been a rough ride for Mito. But I don't know. I don't love anybody here. I think everybody's just going to click on Jaeger because he's a name that we know. But you brought up Sharma. I have a little bit of interest there. CT Pan, maybe he can kind of have some good vibes from his last international golf event. I got it right this time for the producer. Sammy Valimaki has been playing a little bit better lately. But, yeah, I mean, it's hard to trust anyone down here. If you look at their results, it's just a lot of miscuts in the last couple months.
You're at 3 lashings for what it's worth.
They were quick too. They must have been. I saw you smiling. I was like, "What?" It must be. And then I saw the comment or private chat. So
some people aren't going to understand, but it's okay. Many will. So so Sharma, 8 straight made cuts worldwide, 19th at the Open Championship. 5th at the Italian Open, so he's been playing pretty good golf. Obviously, that's on the DP World Tour, but for 6,500, I don't mind that down there. He's probably my favorite, and then probably Pan after that. But that's probably about it. I agree on. Yeah, I think Jaeger's ownership will end up skyrocketing, and compared to all the others down here, and probably nobody else that we need to go into.
All right.
Rafael Campos is golfing, but it's not the Puerto Rico shootouts, so we can't play.
Well, if he wins, he can get into a bunch of events. Okay, here's a fun game. What would be your best case scenario? Winning the gold.
Best case scenario for just
for whatever, for your personal enjoyment.
I mean, I think for the golf game in general, it would be if one of those guys that needs exemptions into the big tournaments wins it, like Rahm. I think I would prefer Neiman. I don't know, kind of a fan of him for no reason. For my wallet, it's going to be Alex Noren, because I will definitely be overweight on him. So for the game of golf, I'll say Rahm or Neiman, and Noren for the wallet.
So Aaron in the chat also agrees with you on Noren. He thinks he's going to win. Yeah, so for me, if Toasty could win, that would be like the icing on the cake of the entire year. He probably
would he just take his medal and laugh in everybody's face, or?
I mean, he would be throwing champagne bottles at people. It would be incredible. So yeah, I would pick Toasty for my wallet. Probably be Morikawa. I think he might be my only bet this week. But did you see the little whatever? So the exemptions. Get into the players, get into the majors, but you only get into the Century if you're a member of the PGA Tour. It's kind of weird. So they're allowing them into the players, but not the Century if one of the live guys wins.
Hang on. I think my video might have frozen here.
You're good on my end.
Am I good?
Yep.
All right. Well, my screen froze. I don't know what happened there.
Answer Jeffrey's question real quick.
Go for it.
Okay, so we ended up finishing second in FD's biggest GPP last week. Big congrats. He has a significant bankroll now. Should he go enter the high entry entry fee single entry contest, or go back to the GPP streets? I have lived and learned this lesson quite a few times. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I think I would say just keep on doing what you're doing. You know, if you try to scale up too quickly, then that bankroll could disappear faster than you desire it to. So I wouldn't change a thing. I'd just keep on doing what I'm doing. Maybe you scale up a little bit if you're playing $10. You can move up and play $20 or something. But I wouldn't go crazy. I don't think I'd just keep on doing what's working.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to keep like the same amount of entries after a big win. It's just human nature to want to move up a little bit. So my recommendation would be take out whatever you don't want to lose. Like just take it out now. Don't touch it again. Play with, leave some in there to play with. But yeah, just stick to what you're doing. Don't change up your style too. If you've been playing MMEs, don't all of a sudden, go to the single entry. Stick to what you're doing, especially in an event like this where it's pretty random anyway. There's no cut. The volatility is high. We don't know motivations, all that stuff. If anything, this is a week to take it a little bit lighter than usual.
Yeah, for sure this week. So, all right. So with that, if you're not sticking around for the snake draft, we can bid you adieu. And thank you for watching. As always, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate that very much. And we'll try to find a snake draft here. But my browser tabs are completely locked up, so I've got to hop out and hop back in. So I'm going to hop out for just a second. We'll try to find a $5 snake draft, and then we'll get out of here. So I will be back in just a jiffy here.
All right. So while we wait for STL cards, let's go to the lobby, try to find a snake draft. Looks like, it's MLB. Okay. All right, there looks like there's a $5 0-6. I'll join that one, and I'll post a link in the chat.
I'm back. I don't know what happened. Like our power surged or something for a second, and it just threw everything off, and I couldn't get back to the screen to share my screen. So did you join yet or not yet?
Yeah, I joined an empty one, so we got 2-6 now.
2-6, 3-6. All right, I gotta try to sneak in there real quick. Hopefully it doesn't fill without me. There we go. I will wait to share my screen when it fills, so that hopefully it doesn't mess with my monitor here. Two more. Kind of an uneventful, relatively speaking, trade deadline in baseball today.
Yeah, I hadn't been paying much attention. Then I went to join some contests tonight and noticed the Mariners lineup has like 3 new guys.
I think they said the Marlins only had like 19 players available out of their 26-man roster today because they unloaded. But a lot of the big names, Mason Miller, Brent Rooker, Luis Robert, Garrett Crochet, Scooball, none of those guys got traded. So I'm sure Luis Robert is very happy to still be in Chicago. One more. We got 5 of 6 here. We'll get this rolling.
Producer Steve says the Cubs are getting mollywopped. That's a good word.
That was the Cubs were my pick on scores and odds tonight, and then Dean took them as the old squad ride bet. So that's it's not good, but can't win them all, I guess. Man, the Reds were throwing a bullpen game against Justin Steele. See, that's baseball for you. Sometimes it just doesn't go the way you think it will. I got to see how bad a mollywop is. I'm not sure how many runs that is. 5-0. I'll probably do it. All right, we're filled up here. So I will share my screen.
This will work out great. You'll probably get Rory. I'll get Morikawa or Rahm.
Yeah, golf. Picking third. I could take any of those top 3 golfers, I guess. All right, I gotta give a shout out to our winner from last week because see who that is. Excuse me. I finished third, so Tug Rules and J.R. Smitty, 1 point apart. And I know Devin promised we could comp a week of RotoGrinders Premium to the winner, the top non-Team RG finisher. I'm not sure if Tug Rules is a premium subscriber or not. I know he's been following us for a while. Is he in tonight's draft? He's not, so maybe he's not watching.
Your kids start school soon?
Yeah, the 15th. And so our oldest is going to be in high school. And he has, out of nowhere, become like a pretty good runner for his age. So he started track last year, and his mile time was around 7 minutes. He's down in like the 5s now.
Ooh, that's awesome.
For mile time. So he's doing cross country. And our youngest that's going into middle school has decided to play junior tackle football. Nice. And so right now and they've both just started practice. So right now I am a wagon of taking kids to practice and picking them up. So that's my job. But yeah, the cross country meets and the football games are both going to be on Saturday mornings. So we're going to have to, I don't know, alternate weeks and stuff.
Split up the watching.
Yeah.
One go to one go to the other.
I mean, it's not, I don't know, like cross country is weird because it's not like you can run with them the whole race. So you basically see them like at the end or whatever.
Yeah.
But getting your mile time down under 6 minutes after about 6 months of training is more than I could have done. So
that's real impressive.
Supporting them on that path. So yeah, we start on the 15th. That seems somewhat early. When do you guys start out there?
I think it's the next week, but I'm lazy and haven't checked yet. I'm very much looking forward to it.
That's what my wife has said as well. She's home with 2 throughout the day, and I mean, not that they're 14 and 11, but they get stir crazy. And
yeah, my problem is he's the only child, so I'm his main source of entertainment, and it's tough during the day sometimes.
Yep, I was an only child as well, so I got by the time I was in like 8th grade in high school and both my parents were working, it was a lot of hanging out by myself playing video games or whatever during the summer. So I was always kind of ready to be back in the school routine when it happened. All right. No auto drafters this week. We've already rolled through 3 rounds here. Rory, Neiman, and Connors for me. Rahm, Fleetwood, and Straka for Noto.
All right, gonna reach for Seabez. This seems like an awful Min Woo course, but he played well at Sawgrass. Maybe he can sneak up there.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take Benny on, but I was going to say if the person in front of me takes him, I'll take Min Woo. But he took Min Woo, so I took Benny on.
People must be playing up the France narrative. Pabon, 19th in ADP. That's pretty good.
And we need
got picked.
Braswell here to take both Frenchmen. You got to get the combo. Yes, yeah. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. I hope he's watching. Kudos if you are. That's good stuff. Team France all the way. Okay, now I'm picking in the middle here. I'm used to picking on one end, and pace is going pretty good here, so got to be ready. We'd still be in the first round if we had a couple of auto drafters.
I wish Bryson was here instead of Wyndham. Or
how did they? Do you know? How did they choose?
Can't remember. I think they announced it right after Bryson won. I think they had already had their selections.
Top 15 world ranked players will be eligible with a limit of 4 players from a go. I thought it was 2 from every country. Well, anyway, I don't have the ability to analyze that right now. All right. Sharma's still on here. I'm going to take him. Yes, there he is. So, yeah, 7 rounds. So, 42. Only 18 golfers are going to be left on the board. So, it's getting into slim pickings here at the bottom. Really slim pickings. You're going to have to get your boy Toasty with your last pick there.
Yeah. I can do that. Can't think of a worse course for him, though. He's going to hit driver everywhere and just
hope for the best. And you mentioned Mito looking bad since going to live. Moronk hasn't been too far behind. He's at least got a few, I guess, but we'll go with Moronk anyway. I think it's late enough. Taking him 39th pick. Zip through that one. Rory, Neiman, Connors, Benyon, Jaeger, Sharma, and Moronk for me. Rahm, Fleetwood, Straka, Seabez, Olesen, Guido. Oh, did you do that on purpose? You didn't take him?
I couldn't do it. I'm gonna need a bench spot this week.
All right, Valimaki, who I almost wrote up, but then decided not to this week. So if he does well, I'll take half the credit. All right, that'll do it for our snake draft and our show for this week. We come back next week, and it will be, I believe, the final event before the playoff events start. So it'll be the Wyndham Championship next week. as the golfers jockey for PGA Tour playoff positioning. And then we'll start the playoff events in earnest in the middle of August, taking us up to, let's see, I'm trying to see if there's a little bit of a break in there. So, all right, so it's the FedEx St. Jude, the BMW, and then the Tour Championship. So the playoff events take us right through the end of August. And then there's a little bit of a break in September for the President's Cup. But then otherwise back to the fall events in October and November before the small December break. So we'll be back next week to talk Wyndham Championship. And Noto, anything else before we get out of here?
No, enjoy the week. Don't play too much unless you feel better than we do.
All right, with that, thanks to Noto for joining me. Thanks to Steve for producing, working hard behind the scenes for us. I'm Justin, and we'll see you next week, everybody. Take care.